Okay, let's kick off. So today's topic is going to be how to position yourself and tell your unique story. You want to stand out, you want to accept job hunting realities, and also learn why your skill set won't be enough to land you a role that you really love. So who am I? I'm Jackie. I'm the director of product design at Inkblot, as Juliet mentioned. I'm also the strategic lead and founder of my own micro agency doing freelance work called Jackie.io. And I'm also a program partner with a company called Coho. It's sort of like a shared learning platform. It's a mentorship and shared peer learning platform for different folks working in tech from about the mid to senior level and above. Originally, I am from Vancouver, Canada, but currently I am a digital nomad and I am based in Medellin in Colombia. If you've ever had interest in going to Colombia, I can't recommend it enough. I spend a lot of time here. Also about me, I'm a Latin dancer and I love spicy food, especially when it makes me cry because it's like euphoric. It's like you feel high. So I enjoy that a lot. Okay, job hunting is hard. It's really, really, really hard. And I think we never want to underestimate that as we go into this process because it can feel super demoralizing when people around us are landing things and we're not getting what we wanted and it's feeling really misaligned. And especially when you're at that emerging level in your career, it can kind of feel like you're a fish swimming upstream, right? Like there's just so many people, there's not that many opportunities, and you kind of just feel like you're just one person in a crowd of many. And it's like, what do you even do in that circumstance? Like you send a resume and this like tracker, doesn't read your keywords and you don't know the hiring manager. You have no connection to the company, you don't live in a major city. So you haven't been able to attend networking events. And also tech is extremely North American centric. Maybe you're not in North America. That's like another barrier. So you face a lot of barriers, right? And it's really challenging sometimes to think, well, why me and how am I going to make this happen for myself? I want to say though, it is possible to break through the noise. And really, I think the key to this is about positioning and really thinking about who you are as an individual in the job market. So what is positioning, right? This is a like marketing term and it refers to the place that a brand occupies in the minds of customers and how it is distinguished from the products of the competitors. And I know this seems weird, right? Because like, hello, we're humans, we're not businesses, but at the same time, in the job market, you have to really think about yourself as a product, right? You almost have to like commodify yourself in some sense and think about how you as a product are different from other products, right? Like the other applicants in a way. So we were saying in the beginning, right? Like the job hunting market right now, it's really saturated, right? And in saturated markets, differentiation is key to success because even in a market that has so much happening, companies still succeed, right? Companies find a way through the noise and find success. And I want you to think about yourselves in the same way, right? Because each of you here has a unique perspective that a progressive, forward thinking company is looking for, right? And it's just a matter of positioning yourself in a way that those companies that are going to really appreciate you see and understand your value and say, yes, like this is the individual that I want to have at my business. But okay, right? Like, great. But how do we do it, right? I think there are specific tools that in this process you can utilize to help you effectively tell this story. So we're going to go through a few right now. The first one, and I love this one, is brand words. So branding words are descriptors that you want people to use to endorse your brand. These are words that define you, your work, and what clients get by working with you. And these are almost the words you hope people are like saying behind your back. Like, I think when we look at the phrase like, oh, they were talking behind my back, it's usually in this negative mindset. But I want everyone here to think about, what are people saying behind my back in a positive way? How am I described, right? And when we can think about words that describe us most effectively, then it's like that's a powerful communication tool. And I think like in reality, as human beings, language is really meaningful for us, and it's one of our most primary communication tools. And especially now that work has changed and a lot of work is occurring online, the way that you speak about yourself is going to leave either an impact or not leave an impact, in a sense, when you're networking, when you're interviewing, etc. Right? So the brand is you, right? It's the brand of me. Okay, so I'm going to show all of you, for example, what brand words I use to describe myself when I'm in a networking event, when I'm speaking to potential people I want to hire, because I also want them to know about me and the team that they're joining, to see if, oh, like, is this a place that I'm going to feel good? Like, is this a manager that I want to work with, right? So my brand words are transparent. So I aim to be completely like forthcoming whenever I have information, whether that's information I pass on to my team, when I'm informing higher ups at work about dissatisfaction with people on my team. And I want to just be clear as possible. I really love this phrase. There's a book called Radical Candor. And one of the lines in the book states, clearness is kindness. And this is something that I try to emulate every day at work. The second thing is being compassionate. So I'm a designer, and in UX, UI design, product design, we talk about empathy a lot, and that's like understanding somebody else's viewpoint, right? And connecting with them. But to me, being compassionate is going one step forward because it's empathy and action. And for me, every day, not just at work, but also in my life, I want to understand people and I want to do something about it. The next brand word I use to describe myself is that I'm balanced. So when I am interviewing candidates, I always tell them I'm going to be the most hands-on, hands-off manager that you're probably ever going to have. I'm going to be extremely hands-off in the sense that I'm not going to tell you what to do. You do your own design work. You work with your product manager. You make your own decisions, and you are responsible for your own outcomes. So I'm very hands-off. Hands-on, though, is where I'm going to say, however, I'm going to emotionally support you. I'm going to help you manage your energy. I'm going to help you uncover things that might be blocking you, right? And that's like a balance I bring with my team. And then I also try to bring that balance into when I'm working with stakeholders, like having that give and take. It's like, what are the needs of the business? What are the needs of the users? What are the needs of our employees? And balance is something that I think is really important for us to bring into the workplace. And then finally, I use the word influential to describe myself because influence brings change, right? Like people that are influential are able to modify situations. But I think the reason why I pair influential with words like compassionate and balanced is because I don't want to be manipulative, right? And in my role as a department head, I have to be influential for the needs of my team, right? And the reason why I think these words are important and coming up with these words for yourself is key is because everybody's going to have different words because everybody shows up to work differently. Like these are my 4 words. They're probably not your 4 words. Maybe you are the type of person at work that's really like methodical, right? And you're super systems driven and you really like to break things down, right? Or maybe you're the person that when you attend a meeting, you're just like a sponge and you're an amazing listener and you provide the best impact when you take time to listen, sit with what you heard, and then provide, right? And that's why I like the words exercise because it helps you identify why you are unique because everybody's going to have different words. And the more you get comfortable with like, oh, well, like these are my words. This best identifies me. You can speak to that confidently, right? Like even for me sitting here and sharing my 4 words with all of you, I hope that on the receiving end of this, that you feel that I do have a connectivity with these words in the way that I show up to work and in my life every day. So the next piece that I think is amazing for you to include, especially if, I mean, I think Juliet mentioned that you're all working on your resumes, is a personal statement. And really, this is a way that you separate yourself from other applicants. And when I say separate, I want everyone to really get in the mindset here is like, it's not about competition, right? Differentiation, apologies, doesn't necessarily mean I'm better than the other applicants, right? It's just more about, no, I'm different. I'm unique. I have a value add, right? So you can use this personal statement to summarize your experience and highlight your unique talents. This is really meant to demonstrate why you are the perfect fit for the job, right? And in everything, I think really in life, I know we want to like say like, oh, it's me against them, or it's like me against the world. It's like really at the end of the day, it's you against yourself, right? And the more that you get aligned with who that self is, the better you can represent that self to the world. So I'm going to read you all my personal statement. And I want you to see the way that I've actually used those 4 brand words to pull this statement together. Okay, so a people first design leader who specializes in scaling design teams. I help organizations build a successful design department through a transparent, human, yet detail obsessed leadership approach. My peers would describe me as an influential, compassionate individual who uses a straightforward approach to successfully balance the humanity of their team with the requirements of the business. So in this statement, right, I'm using my words to build my brand. I'm taking a approach. I have a clear position that helps differentiate me from, say, a different type of design leader who's maybe that design leader, their style is that they are very technical. Like they're a technical design leader. And maybe in their personal statement, they would speak to the systems they've built. And maybe they would speak to the types of tools that they specialize in. Or maybe they're the type of design leader that thrives at really traditional organizations. So maybe in their statement, they're going to speak to the fact that they are really good at dealing with traditional systems, old models of work, transformation into like the new era of work, right? And I know I'm speaking from a leadership perspective, but each of you has experience in your life and in previous careers before this new tech transition, right? And I want you to think about the gifts that you bring from your life and your previous experiences and speak to them in this statement, right? Because even at the emerging level, you can still stand out, right? I often see statements, and again, I'm speaking from a design perspective because that's my familiarity point, but it does really apply to every discipline. But I often will read resumes or land on portfolio websites. It's like, hey, I'm oh my gosh, Kindle. That's on my table. Hey, I'm Kindle. I am a designer from Vancouver, and I design human-centered experiences that are focused on empathy. I am passionate about product design, and I am looking forward to working on new problems with your organization. Okay, excellent. That's just the baseline of every designer. Every designer can do that. Every designer does that. But when we bring the brand words into what we do, now all of a sudden it's a unique point of view. So say I was that emerging designer and I'd say, hi, I'm Kindle. Having come from a background working in the service industry, I understand how important it is to understand and serve customer need. So all of a sudden, Kindle is a little bit different because, okay, they design user-centric experiences, but how cool that they can take this thing they had working in the service industry, being super human focused in that job every day, and now applying it to this new phase in their career. So just something I want you all to think about, like what makes me special, right? Okay, and next is brand cohesion. I think this is crucial. Cohesive branding means maintaining consistency regardless of the mediums or channels consumers see your brand. This means your brand should be immediately recognizable from the rest of the crowd. And the example I'm going to show here is my resume, but I'm going to speak a little bit deeper than this. If we look at this resume right now, in the context of this presentation that I'm giving, do you see how it feels like it's all kind of the same? And the reason why I do this is purposeful. It's because I want people to walk away from interactions with me being like, oh, that's Jackie. She's like rainbow, right? Like I chose a visual direction for like a really specific reason because I wanted that feeling. I chose these gradients in my visual brand because I wanted softness, but connectivity, like everything was really purposeful. But this also just extends into the way that you speak and interact. So something I try to do is like remain consistent in the way I am at work all the time. And I know sometimes that's really difficult. And I'm sure for a lot of you here, um, you understand what code switching is, right? And realistically, we live in a world that doesn't accept everyone for who they are. And we utilize things like code switching, especially for marginalized folks, for safety, right? However, when you code switch too much in your life, especially in your professional life, it it removes that sense of like cohesion from the way you represent yourself. And personally, I am very pro being as authentic as you can be, of course, like within reason, right? Because you don't want to put yourself in an unsafe situation. But if you can try to show up to your interviews truly as like who you actually are on the inside and how you present on the outside, you're gonna you're gonna attract the right type of organization that respects you and values you for exactly who you are. Because if you are coming into interviews doing too much code switching and trying to present in the way that you think that company will want to see you, you might end up working somewhere that just is not like a comfortable, good fit, not a safe space for you, etc. So I would really implore all of you to think about the consistency that you want to have so that when you land a role, that you can go to work in that role every day and feel like I am loved and accepted for exactly who I am. And you can really represent that in the way that you position and brand yourself in the job hunt. And then the final piece, and I think arguably the most important, and the one we're going to live teach on today, is the career story. And really, this is a narrative of your professional journey. So this will include details about you, such as your work experience, your skill set, your values and goals, to help prospective employers and industry professionals get to know you better. So it's like when I am ever meeting somebody new, whether it's a prospective employer, somebody I want to hire, a mentee, just networking, just people I meet randomly that are curious about what I do in my profession, I always try to tell the whole story because the whole story is what matters. And the example I love to use is through the narrative arc. I feel like maybe some of you would have seen this in grade school. Like the first time you ever write a story, you might have seen this shape around, okay, this is how storytelling occurs, right? So we begin with an exposition, and this is the background information. We're kind of like setting the scene. And then we have our first conflict. And I'm sure all of us in our lives, in our career stories, have had incidents of like, oh, like that was a failure, like that didn't work. But then through our rising action, it's like, but then I got this opportunity and I tried this out. Oh, but then I didn't really like that. And then I tried this thing out and that really wasn't for me. Or this negative thing happened and I wasn't treated well and I wasn't respected or valued. So then I left that opportunity and then I moved to the next one. And oh, and then like I heard about tech. I heard about software engineering. My friend told me what UX design was. I became very interested in data analytics and AI. And this is what leads us in our career stories to like the climax point. And I think, especially for those of you that are doing like a career transition and you're early in your career, to me, the climax is that like aha moment. Like, and then I fell in love with tech. And then I taught myself how to code. And then I attended a boot camp, right? And then I went to university. And then I went to networking events. And it's like, oh, it's like that tipping point that brings you to where you are now. And then it becomes the falling action. So like, what's sort of like unraveling this? It's like, I fell in love with this. And then I graduated my boot camp and I was so excited. But then a new challenge faced me because I was, struggling to find something that felt like a good fit for me. So then I heard about this thing called Cherry in Tech and like Now I'm meeting all these amazing people, and the resolution is that now I really feel like my work and myself are at a point where I can really add value to your organization. And now I'm going to tie up my loose ends and share with you the impact I'm going to bring to your business. And now let's talk about that. And that will bring you into the interview phase of that sort of like introductory call or conversation with somebody. So before we move on to the live teach, I just want to take a pause and see, so I can see your faces again because I can't see anybody, if anybody has any questions at this point.